go. Now we're in business. Okay. So everybody got a copy of this in their e-notes, and I wanted to make sure we shared it here. And it's gonna drop, it's effective June 1st, which is coming up in just a couple days. So everything that I have on here that has a line through it is going away. And we're gonna go to that, already talk about it. What was that? Okay. So the first section hasn't, well, first off, our logo will be inserted in here. And if it's not by June 1st, if it doesn't happen automatically, because our logo sometimes has issues with dot loop, then we will get it within a few days. But appointment of realtor is still the first section, but here's what it's going to say now. Consideration of brokerage's effort to find a buyer for the seller's property. It's getting rid of all that next section. Brokerage submitting the listing contract to Columbus Central Ohio Regional MLS or payment of, etc. All that's going away. It's just going to say seller hereby grants to. And that first block is where you're still going to put in your KW Greater Columbus Realty. The exclusive right to exchange. Oh, I'm sorry. Property known generally as, and that's where your address is going to go in. And more fully for the sum of X amount of dollars. So it's getting rid of all of that other verbiage in there. The reason they're doing this is because a lot of brokerages are starting to unbundle where they're sending their listings to. Remember how during the office meeting I talked to you early third quarter, you're going to enter your listing into command and then choose if you want to go to MLS, if you wanted to go to Zillow Preview, if you wanted to go to all these different places. That's why they're getting rid of a lot of this language, because it forces you to go to the MLS and it's taking out and it's adding language about other places as we get a little further into it.
Dala, where it says the percentage up the top, could you make that like 125 or something so we can?
Sure. How's that? Is that better?
A little bit.
How about that?
A little more.
One more? I can see.
No more. Very good enough.
Thank you. Those are my eyes. How about you guys at home? Can you see it okay? Siobhan, shake your head yes or no. Okay, thank you. I can see her, so it's great. So anyway, commencing through your commencement date is when the listing is live, when it's active listing. Through termination date, every contract has to have a start and a stop date. To sell or exchange a property generally known as, that's where your property address is going to go in. And more fully described on the above reference worksheet, the property for the sum of X amount of dollars. So all of that other verbiage is going away. And some of it's a little redundant, so I think that is good, but again, I think this is because of where we're going with choices and transparency in the future. Payable in cash at closing or for such other price or such other terms and conditions to which seller may consent in writing. Seller further agrees to delegate to listing agent. And it says the agent versus brokerage. Some people, even though you guys as agents are agents of the brokerage and can act for the brokerage, some people get mixed up with that verbiage. So I think they did that just to clear up the language. It says the listing agent. The authority to appoint other licensees within the brokerage to represent seller's interest. If an appointment is made, seller will be notified at the time of appointment. Seller has the right to veto the appointment of any other licensee. And we do have a document called appointment of agency. Right. And so if you are going to appoint someone else to take over one of your listings, you need to have that completed. And within the document, it even says if it's temporary or if it's for the duration of the listing, and your seller has to acknowledge and be okay. This next section is all new. Seller acknowledges that multiple listing service is primary marketplace for residential real estate listings. Residential real estate listings, and that listing the property in an MLS generally increases exposure to prospective buyers. Seller authorizes brokerage to submit the property to one or more MLSs in accordance with the applicable MLS rules and regulations and the seller's written instructions regarding listing exposure, status, and distribution. So. Again, it's a disclosure to the seller, letting them know that it's better to take your property to the open market, because that's when you're gonna get the most exposure. There are times when, you know, they may want it to not up for various reasons. But it's, again, it's that disclosure to the seller. This next section is all changing. So all this is going away, where it says the property will be active MLS on entry day, active, brokerage exclusive, coming soon, excluded from internet, etc. But there is an additional form at the back of the listing agreement that includes some of this information. But this is all going to be gone on the new listing agreement. Everybody good so far? Section 2, the compensation part. I'm gonna go ahead and read through it, but there's just a very small change happening here. Seller acknowledges that there are no standard compensation rates. The only reason I'm going to go through it again is because I think it's always good to hear. And that if any broker fees and commissions not set by law are fully negotiable and may be paid by the seller, buyer, the landlord, the tenant, or a third party. Or by sharing or splitting the fees and commission between brokers. If during the term of the listing contract, seller's property is sold or exchanged by anyone, or 2, brokerage produces a buyer ready, willing, and able to purchase the property on the above terms and conditions, seller shall pay compensation to brokerage as follows. So they're taking out that section that says for services to procure a buyer for seller's property. It's just, again, simplifying it and getting rid of that. The rest of that with the compensation, as we learned last August, is all still the same. If anybody has any questions about it, I'm happy to go into that detail again. Coming down to the protection period, I am going to talk about this because I think even seasoned agents don't always understand how the protection period works. And I think it's a good reminder. It says, if a purchase agreement is signed before the listing contract expires, but the closing of the sale of the property does not take place until after the original term or any extension of the listing contract, seller's obligation to pay the compensation required under the listing contract shall be extended to coincide with the closing date. So if you take a listing on April 1st and it expires on June 1st, and you went into contract on May 31st and it's not closing till June 15th. This covers you, says you're still going to get paid your compensation because it went into contract before expiration of the contract. Now, in addition, such compensation shall be paid if the property is sold or exchanged with them. This is where you have to insert a number of days for this to apply. My recommendation is to always put 90 days or maybe even 120 days. It takes usually 90 days to get a contract closed. I mean, you're going to be protected by most, but again, I've seen 120 days. And that's called the protection period. After the expiration of this listing contract or any extension thereof to anyone with whom the brokerage has had negotiations prior to expiration, provided the seller has received notice in writing, including the names of the prospective buyers before or upon expiration of the listing contract or any extensions thereof. So let's say that we have a listing and it's going to expire on June 1st. And we've had all kinds of showings for the month of May leading up to it. And we've even had negotiations, we've had offers, but we just couldn't come together, whatever the case is. And you know that after June 1st, your seller is not going to extend the listing. Before midnight on May 31st, so before the end of the before the end of the listing period, you need to deliver to that seller in writing the names of those people who looked at the property that you had negotiations with, etc. Easy way to do that is to go to showing time and go to everybody who's shown in that process and send it to them with the buyer's names next to it. And let them know that if they happen to close with these people that you've worked with it on, you still are covered because of the protection period that was put in. Now, here's the caveat to all that. However, seller shall not be obligated to pay brokerage such compensation if seller enters into a valid listing contract with another licensed real estate brokerage during said protection period. So you can be protected for those people that looked at the property as long as that seller doesn't go list with another brokerage somewhere else. And if that's the case, then it goes out the way. A lot of people don't understand that. We actually had this happen last year in our office with one of our agents. And she came to me and she's like, I was negotiating with these people, we were going back and forth, it expired, and she goes, I saw later that they went ahead and bought the property after the expiration with me, and it was within my days, do I have any legs to stand on? And she did, and here's why. Because the offer had been submitted with that buyer's name from her that had legs and stood. So even though she did not send the email with that person's name, because she had actually presented an offer and had all that documentation, it had legs to stand on. But it's better always to send the email with the list of the buyers.
So that seller didn't relist.
They didn't.
Okay.
And they sold it to the person that she had been negotiating with. And that seller ended up paying her commission.
Good.
So, after the fact. Okay, the next part is being taken out, the please be certain to complete both the residential worksheet and the listing contract, etc. The next part here under seller's cooperation. Brokerage is authorized to place a for sale sign on the property and to remove all other for sale signs and to actively market the property subject to any limitation based upon and all of the rest of that is being omitted. And it just says upon the option selected and the applicable MLS addendum. And that's the page that's attached to this. Brokerage and all other brokerages and salespersons authorized by brokerage shall have access to the property at all reasonable times for the purpose of showing it. Seller acknowledges that photos and or videos may be taken of the property. So the part that is taken away from here is because of section 1 changing, now it's all on the addendum that goes with listing agreement. The next part stays the same as far as the seller needs to be able to convey clear title. Disclosures. If applicable, seller agrees to pay, and all they've done is change capitals to small letters. You know how we capitalize buyer and seller? Well, I guess they decided that that's not proper English, so now it's a small b, the small s. MLS authority. Subject to any limitations based upon the option selected, so it's not even the listing, it just says option selected, and the MLS addendum, which is that new part of this. Get rid of all the section 1 wording. Seller authorizes and directs brokerage to advertise the property, to list the property, and it doesn't say where, it says just the MLS, it says one or more MLSs, subject to the rules and regulations of such MLSs. To provide timely notice of status changes of listing to the MLS and to provide sales information, including selling price to the MLS upon sale of the property. So after you sell the property, you have to close it out in MLS. So that's where they're wanting to make sure that they gather that data. Brokerage, however, will not include any offer of compensation to any cooperating buyer broker and any MLS. Subject to any limitations based on the option selected in the MLS, and then brokerage is further authorized to place information about the property and any other informational service medium, including but not limited to IDX, other social media outlets, in order to advertise and promote the sale of the property. So again, that's where we're going to have it much easier once command has that, or you're going to enter your listings in command and choose where you want it to go. But this, you know how I told you, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of changes and things on bundling. This wording will cover all of that because you'll be able to send it where you want to send it.
So this is about to start to where we won't just add listing an MLS.
Well, that's coming early third quarter
Okay.
for Keller Williams agents. You'll enter a command and then from there choose where it.
But we have some time just to do it right in the MLS. Just the way that we do it now.
Yeah, right now you're still going to enter an MLS as you do it now. Yep,
Alright.
we'll let you know when that changes.
Alright.
In fact, we're going to start having meetings about that, I think starting next week with KWRI. The lockbox piece of it has not changed. Again, where the seller is authorizing the brokerage to let home inspectors, appraisers, and all of that stuff in. There are a couple of small changes down here. Seller also understands and agrees that the buyer may attend the appointment with the authorized individuals. If seller consents above, seller agrees to hold the brokerage, because the agent is part of the brokerage, so the agent part of it's going out of the way. And the buyer's agent and brokerage, their brokerage, harmless for any damages. Again, just the title part has changed on this. And that's the nuts and bolts of that. Now, where's that? I logged out my email, too fast. I thought it was on.
I'll do that, but you. What is it? Well, I have it.
But I guess it's simply.
So here's the other piece of that. MLS listing options for sellers form. So this is the addendum that will now go with the purchase contract. All MLS related fields previously on the exclusive right to sell contract have been moved to a new dedicated form titled MLS listing options for sellers. This form, and this will be a required form, and this form allows brokers to clearly present and document a seller's marketing decisions within the MLS. So the sellers must select one of the following. Is the property going to be active? Is it going to be coming soon? Is it going to be broker exclusive? Or exclude the listing from the internet display? So this way it still maintains clear cooperation between broker and seller, proper documentation of marketing choices, alignment with MLS rules and clear cooperation requirements, and inclusion of required disclosures for brokerage exclusives and exclude from internet. So this form replaces the existing brokerage exclusive waiver form. So there won't be a broker exclusive form anymore. It's going away. You'll be able to use this for all of them. The form is only submitted to the MLS when brokerage exclusive is selected. In that case, it should be emailed too. So if you've gone over the pros and cons of doing a broker exclusive and your client still wants to do a broker exclusive, they can. You are required to email this form to MLS when they do that, so they have record. And you have 48 hours. Or else their software will pick up on it. You might get in trouble. We don't want you in real estate jail. If a listing is not entered into the MLS within 48 business hours of the listing agreement, the MLS listing options for sellers form should be completed and retained in the broker's file. The form does not need to be submitted to the MLS, but must be made available upon request. Here's what the form looks like. MLS listing options for sellers, broker's name, property address. This document governs how the property will be entered, displayed, and distributed within the Columbus and Central Ohio MLS. Seller understands that the MLS is the primary marketplace for residential real estate listings, and that limiting marketing exposure of the property may result in fewer potential buyers, a longer time to sell, or a reduced sales price. Seller has reviewed the options below and directs brokerage and the MLS to handle the property as follows. Oh, sorry, Tabitha, I'll get you in a second. Active. Seller certifies and agrees the property will be listed as active and disseminated in the MLS and will be immediately available to all MLS participants and subscribers for cooperation and for public marketing, including through internet data exchange, virtual office websites, and other MLS authorized syndication on. So that's your MLS entry date. Until the MLS entry date, the property shall be considered to be in a preparation period and shall not be marketed or advertised and is subject to the marketing limitations of a brokerage exclusive as described below until the MLS entry date. coming soon. Seller certifies and agrees the property will be entered into the MLS and coming soon status on X date. Until the MLS entry date, the property shall be considered to be in a preparation period and shall not be marketed or advertised and is subject to the marketing limitations of the brokerage exclusive as described below until the MLS entry date. Once entered into MLS and coming soon status, the property may be publicly marketed, but no showings are permitted. The property will automatically update to active status on X date, no more than 30 days from the entry. And then the last one, brokerage exclusive, if selected, the MLS form must be submitted to MLS at, and there's the email address. Seller certifies and agrees the property will not be publicly marketed. This means the property will not be displayed on any internet websites. There will be no for sale signs on the property, and it will not be included in any public marketing materials. Seller certifies and agrees that brokerage exclusive significantly limits the marketing exposure, and it has that whole waiver again. Public marketing trigger, clear cooperation. Seller certifies and agrees that under MLS rules, within 1 business day of any public marketing of the property, including but not limited to yard signs, flyers, digital marketing, public facing websites, brokerage websites, IDX, etc., email campaigns, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, or applications available to the general public, the property must be entered into the MLS and fully disseminated to all MLS participants. So it clearly spells out you have 1 business day from the day the listing begins to get it into the MLS. Optional no internet distribution for active and coming soon listings only. This excludes from the internet this option. And the seller certifies and agrees the property will be entered into the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants, but will not be displayed through broker websites, meaning IDX exchanges, and Realtor.com or other MLS authorized syndication to public websites until seller provides written authorization to change this selection. Seller certifies and agrees that by selecting exclude from internet, seller is waiving the benefits of immediate online exposure to the property. And then the next part's the seller acknowledgement. Seller certifies and agrees that they have been informed of these listing options by the brokerage, and selection of any limited exposure option was made voluntarily and was not required as a condition of working with the brokerage. Seller understands that limiting exposure may impact price, time and market buyer competition, and appraisal support, and recognizes the benefits they are waiving or delaying by not selecting the active listing. And then they have to go ahead and sign. So the changes are subtle mostly, yet they are changes. You now have the listing contract, and then you have this separate form where they have to select one of these. And it's a great place to have that conversation about how we're going to market your property and the pros and cons of each. Tabitha, I'm sorry, I lost your question. Can you unmute and talk?
Oh, I just asked if you could zoom in so that we could see the writing, how you did on the other one. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, there you go. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
How are you guys feeling? Clear as mud or good?
Okay. Dala, did you say that a copy of this was sent out for everybody who, because I don't think I received it.
Okay, I'll send you a copy, Siobhan.
Thank you.
The real copy will be in dot loop on the 1st, and the old will be gone. So if you have your own templates set up so that you autofill, etc., you're going to need to update those with this listing agreement. And we will be updating our templates for the brokerage, the listing packet.
And
And the listing packets here in the back. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It'll be in the Greater Columbus packet and Dot Loop.
Yep. But if you have your own templates you've created, so because you autofill like your license number and all that, you're gonna need to go in and update that with the new forms.
Sorry,
Hello?
I was late. I have a quick question, please. If we already have a listing contract with someone for a future listing and it's going to list after June 1st, we update with new now?
You're grandfathered with what you already have, so just any listing taken June 1st forward.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Good questions. Any other comments?
Has there been any other discussions about, it's no coincidence that they've removed all the references to their MLS in this, and the doc is now moved over into Columbus Realtors forms, not MLS forms. We heard anything more out of, because we do have members of the MLS that are not Columbus Realtors.
I have not,
Okay,
but it says, the wording said specifically this Columbus MLS or any other MLSs. So I mean, they're, I think, preparing so it can be generic wherever. Cause like
right, but our members of the MLS, even the Columbus MLS that are not Columbus Realtors members will not be able to use this form. So, you need to get that figured out.
And MLS now has always had this, I'll be anxious to see what they do, and I'm not a member there.
Me either.
But they've had this policy that if a property's, let's say in Zanesville. And you list it in Columbus and you don't list it out there, then they're finding people. So, and they've been doing that for a long time. They've got some kind of software that's watching. So it'll be interesting to see what other MLSs that are bordering us do. They're the worst. I know our poor Lancaster agents, they were fighting with that like crazy for a while.
But you get the smaller Licking, Lancaster. Licking actually has a lot of their own forms. Lancaster does not. Lancaster's got 0.
Yeah.
And the state doesn't have a listing agreement. So.
You haven't heard any more about what Lancaster's going to do?
They don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, because they don't have access to forms, they're really hoping that Columbus does some sort of licensing agreement, which would mean our members of Lancaster or Athens or wherever that are not members of Columbus are gonna need to pay a licensing fee to use these forms.
Right.
I have no idea how they're gonna police that. I mean,
Yeah, I think we're gonna see lots of changes just coming down the pipe all over the place between MLSs and policies. And so it's gonna be more important now than ever to keep your ear peeled, and obviously, as soon as we learn of changes, we're going to be letting you know. And these, like I said, these forms are gonna drop on the 1st, and so I'll send out announcements about them as well. But again, be vigilant and paying attention, because as I had in our office meeting slides the other day, real estate history is being written as we speak right now. And changes are happening so fast, it's really hard to keep up with. But we'll manage, we'll be just fine. I don't want to scare anybody. I'm just saying, but keep your eyes open. What else? Anybody else having any other issues that's not related to this that you want to ask about while we're all together? This recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. Okay, I'll make copies of the stricken version available to everybody.
Thank you.
Seeing your messages here.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah,
So people select the option that requires us to enter the listings through command. As that's,
well, that's not available yet.
okay, that's not part of what they picked
No,
from on
no,
the
that-
back page.
That's coming.
Second part.
So
Sorry.
I'm glad you asked, let's clarify that. So right now, you're not going to change how you enter the listings in MLS, you're gonna enter them as you always have. What's changing right now are the forms you use, the listing agreement and this addendum last page.
The
that
addendum
talks
last
about.
page is what I'm talking was.
So that's the only thing's changing is how the paperwork is filled out, but you're entering it just as you always have. What I was talking about is early third quarter sometime soon, in the next month or two. Keller Williams is going to come out with the ability for you to make things easier. So that you will log your listing starting then, right in command. Versus going to all the different sites, like right now, if you do a Zillow preview, you have to list in. MLS, then you have to list, well, you actually don't before you do Zillow preview, but you have to go to all the different sites to do it individually. At that point, you'll be able to list it in command, and then within command, you'll be able to choose where you want it to go. Columbus MLS, Lancaster MLS, Zillow preview, wherever it is you want it to go.
And is that something that Transact to State would do for you? Be paid?
Yep, they will still enter your listings, so they'll get it in command.
The command part of it will not change the paperwork
No.
at all. It'll be simply where you first enter your listing will be in command. And then command will feed to the MLS, command will feed to Zillow preview, wherever you tell it to go. You'll no longer fill out the listing form on Flex MLS. You'll do it in command.
Right.
And it'll feed it.
And maybe I shouldn't have brought that up, because I don't want to confuse things, because that's not even here yet.
Yeah, it won't affect the paperwork at all.
Yeah, but this paperwork is what you have to use starting June 1st.
That's what'll be in the drawer out here.
Yep, and dot loop and change your templates if you have your own, can't. You press that in.
Dala,
Yeah.
I have a question. So when we start doing this through command, do we as individual agents have to have paid like through the board MLS for different areas? So like Zanesville, for example, or Athens?
Yeah, you
If
still have to be MLS that you select, and I don't know what it's gonna look like, it might even only allow you to have access to the ones that you're a member of, I don't know. I would think too, but who knows? Okay,
So for someone like Pammy, for example, she has MLS, she pays for MLS for like Zanesville for first, to be able to use it. The rest of us wouldn't be able to obviously utilize any of that as a
You could-
team.
the MLS as the listing agent, not unless you listed it under so, yeah.
Okay. Can you co-list if she has it?
No, the rules won't change, they're whatever they are now,
Okay.
part of the MLS.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, right now it's just the form that's different.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All righty. Thanks for joining me via Zoom.